Alright, I really hate it when the crony socialist aspects of our economy does something and then it gives ammunition to people like Bernie Sanders and his supporters to claim that our supposedly capitalist system is designed to only help the big corporations and big businesses. Because they're right. They're not wrong to point out the fact that the Federal Reserve stupidly printed off $1.5 trillion in an afternoon in an effort to keep stock prices from plummeting, which it failed to help, by the way, and if that isn't a sign this is a big bubble, I'm not sure what is. So if they can just print off that money for Wall Street, why not print it off and pay off all student loan debt? After all, student loan debt amounts to about $1.5 trillion, so just pull the same move twice and just try not to think about the inflation or the fact that they're not getting the money back. Now, it is true that the $1.5 trillion is actually a loan that they must pay back, but they also slashed interest rates to nearly 0% at this point, and we've seen the stock market stabilize today, but that's it. That's the last tool the Fed had at its disposal, with the exception of negative interest rates, which I wouldn't be shocked if we see at some point, which would only kick the can further down the road. But unfortunately, the end of that road is in sight at this point, because we are witnessing the panic of the central planners. I think they realize that we've been snorting monetary cocaine for so long that the drug no longer works well and the hangover is right around the corner. And it sucks because people were duped into allowing this to go on. The pain we're inevitably going to feel at this point didn't need to happen to this extent, even with the dreaded, terrible coronavirus. Now, here's the important point to remember. What's a criticism you hear from the Bernie Sanders camp? Well, you hear them say that this is socialism for the rich, and they're right, it is socialism for the rich. It screws everyone else over for the short-term gain of the few. I'm not sure how that's a point in favor of any form of socialism, though, because here's a little tidbit for the socialists out there. With this recent plummeting of the stock market, those rich people that you vilify, and in some cases you justly vilify them, they just experienced a mass evaporation of wealth in just less than 2 weeks. So let's take all the conspiracy theories for granted that the rich upper class push and pull all the levers of society. They run the banking system, they control the government, they have complete influence over the markets and our economy. So they have this obscene amount of control that they want to use for their own benefit. It's socialism for themselves. Well, it didn't work out too well for them, did it? Massive amounts of wealth just dissipated in less than 2 weeks for them. So if those rich, highly educated, and self-serving, greedy people can't even steer this socialism for the rich scheme in a favorable direction for themselves, then what makes you think they would be able to do it for you, even if we granted that they wanted to do it for you? Because I have no doubt that they wanted to benefit themselves with all the control they have. And by only helping the rich, they're helping far fewer people, and it should have been easier to manage than it would have been if they were working on behalf of the common folk, yet they still failed. And they're still managing to screw it up for themselves, and they're still managing to make horrendous decisions. At the end of the day, these top-heavy government schemes will always fail. They are unsustainable. You should be looking at the rich and powerful, saying to yourself, wow, if they couldn't even help themselves without massive repercussions, how do I expect them to help me? How do I expect some massive state apparatus to help me? Because maybe it's time for you to consider decentralization as the best answer, which it obviously is. But that is all for now. Like, subscribe, and share this, and take it easy.